Welcome back to our channel for another explosive breakdown of The Bold and the Beautiful. Today is a thrilling day for soap fans, as we uncover a massive, earth-shattering shift that will permanently alter the landscape of Los Angeles fashion and family dynamics. Buckle up. The flashing, blinding fluorescent lights of the emergency room flicker like a relentless strobe light over Liam Spencer's panicked, tear-stained face. The sterile, biting scent of medical antiseptic hangs heavy and suffocating in the air, serving as a stark, horrifying contrast to the luxurious, custom-blended perfumes of the Forrester and Logan showrooms. Blood roars in Liam's ears with the intensity of a freight train, as he watches a highly coordinated medical team swarm the unconscious, fragile body of his wife. This is the ultimate, terrifying moment of no return. Hope Logan has collapsed for the second time, and the glamorous, cutthroat fashion war has officially claimed its very first devastating casualty. The glittering, champagne-soaked runway has instantly transformed into a bleak, life-or-death battleground. Inside the heavily guarded walls of the House of Logan, just hours prior to this nightmare, the atmosphere was electric but entirely suffocating. Hope was pouring every single ounce of her soul, her sweat, and her rapidly deteriorating sanity into the highly anticipated new collection. She stood in the center of the showroom, surrounded by mountains of luxurious imported fabric swatches, desperately trying to prove her undeniable worth to a skeptical world. But more than anything, she was trying to prove it to Steffi Forrester Finnegan. Every single stitch she approved, every hem she measured, and every avant-garde design she meticulously reviewed with Deke Sharp was a silent, agonizing scream for validation. Hope was not just creating a fashion line, she was frantically building a fortress to protect herself from the relentless mockery and corporate dismissal she had endured at Forrester Creations. However, the walls of that protective fortress were already crumbling from within, destroyed by friendly fire. Brooke Logan's venomous, unforgiving words from their recent explosive confrontation echoed on a relentless, deafening loop inside Hope's fragile mind. Brooke's harsh, biting criticisms about Hope betraying the family legacy, delivered with absolute maternal devastation, acted like a slow-acting, lethal poison in Hope's veins. Instead of receiving a loving mother's warm embrace and understanding, Hope had received a brutal, public condemnation. The immense psychological weight of disappointing the legendary matriarch of the Logan family was crushing her spirit. She felt entirely alienated, deeply isolated, and was running on nothing but pure, unadulterated adrenaline and paralyzing fear. As Hope stood under the bright studio lights, examining a swatch of shimmering, midnight blue silk with her brother Deke, the room suddenly began to violently tilt. The vibrant, bold colors of the House of Logan showroom rapidly bled into a muted, terrifying, dizzying gray. The sickening, overwhelming wave of vertigo that had struck her just days ago returned with a violent, unstoppable vengeance. Her pale hands began to tremble uncontrollably, the expensive silk slipping from her weakened grasp like water flowing through her fingers. She desperately tried to steady herself against the edge of the heavy oak drafting table, but her knees instantly buckled beneath her. For the second, horrifying time, Hope Logan plummeted toward the unforgiving hardwood floor, her exhausted body completely surrendering to the overwhelming, crushing pressure of the fashion war. Liam Spencer, who had been hovering nearby like a fiercely protective hawk, saw the vibrant life drain from her beautiful eyes a split second before she even began to fall. He lunged forward with lightning speed, his arms wrapping around her limp, unresponsive body just in time to prevent her head from striking the floor. The sheer, unadulterated terror that violently ripped through Liam's chest in that exact moment was entirely indescribable. He scooped her up effortlessly, his heart hammering wildly against his ribs like a trapped bird, and sprinted out of the building. The frantic drive to the hospital was a chaotic, terrifying blur of screeching tires, blaring car horns, and Liam's desperate, tear-filled pleas for his beloved Hope to wake up and look at him. Bursting violently through the automatic double doors of the emergency room, Liam's voice cracked with raw, unfiltered, heartbreaking agony. He screamed at the top of his lungs for the doctors, demanding they bring a gurney and save his wife immediately. The haunting image of Hope, pale, motionless, and terrifyingly still on the stretcher as she was rapidly wheeled away down the sterile corridor, shattered something deep and fundamental inside his soul. He was left entirely alone, forced to pace the cold, unforgiving waiting room like a caged, desperate animal. His mind began racing through the chaotic events that had led to this horrific, preventable nightmare. The ruthless fashion, war. The bitter corporate sabotage. Steffi's smug, endless ultimatums. Brooke's relentless, unforgiving outrage. They were all collectively killing the woman he loved. When the lead physician finally emerged through the heavy swinging doors, the grim, unreadable, solemn expression on his weathered face made the blood in Liam's veins run completely cold. Liam instinctively braced himself for the standard news of severe physical exhaustion, perhaps dangerous dehydration, or a massive, stress-induced panic attack. But the devastating reality the doctor was about to deliver was far more terrifying than anything Liam could have ever imagined. The doctor gently pulled Liam aside into a quiet, private alcove, his tone hushed, grave, and laced with deep medical concern. Hope's frightening condition was not merely a simple byproduct of overworking or skipping meals. Her physical collapse was the direct, undeniable manifestation of a severe, deeply rooted psychological illness. The diagnosis hit Liam with the devastating, unstoppable force of a runaway freight train. Severe psychological trauma. The doctor meticulously explained that Hope's fragile nervous system had been locked in a constant, damaging state of fight or flight for months on end. The endless, brutal corporate warfare, the relentless psychological torment inflicted by Steffi's iron-fisted, dictatorial rule at Forrester Creations, and the ultimate, crushing emotional abandonment by her own mother had fundamentally broken Hope's mind. She wasn't just dealing with everyday stress. She was psychologically fractured, suffering from prolonged, severe trauma that was now completely shutting down her physical body. In that sterile, blindingly white hospital hallway, the devastating, heartbreaking truth finally dawned on Liam with crystal clarity. Hope's sudden, shocking, and highly controversial defection to the rival House of Logan was never actually about career ambition. It wasn't about seeking fame, chasing money, or trying to beat Forrester Creations at their own competitive game. It was a desperate, frantic, life-or-death attempt to escape Steffi's suffocating, toxic grip. It was a pure survival tactic. Hope had been silently drowning in Steffi's calculated psychological warfare, gasping for a single breath of air, and jumping ship to Katie's newly formed label was her only available lifeline. But tragically, the psychological damage had already been done before she even signed the contract. A dangerous, fiercely protective, and unyielding rage instantly ignited deep within Liam Spencer's core. He clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles turned a stark, bone white, making a silent, unbreakable vow to the universe. He would absolutely not let anyone, not the smug Steffi, not the arrogant Ridge, not the ambitious Katie, and certainly not the hypocritical Brooke, hurt his wife ever again. As far as Liam was concerned, the petty fashion war was officially over. Both the legacy of Forrester Creations and the rising empire of the House of Logan were now his sworn enemies. They were toxic, soul-crushing machines chewing up the woman he loved, and he was fully prepared to burn both companies to the ground to protect her. Taking immediate, unilateral, and uncompromising action, Liam pulled out his phone and made the definitive call that would send massive shockwaves through the entire Los Angeles fashion industry. He completely and entirely halted all operations, production, and planning for Hope's highly anticipated debut at the House of Logan. Right on the very precipice of their massive, multi-million-dollar launch, Liam slammed the brakes without a single ounce of hesitation. Katie and Bill would undoubtedly be furious, their massive financial investment suddenly frozen in its tracks, but Liam simply did not care. Hope's survival and mental recovery were the only metrics that mattered to him now. The House of Logan was officially placed on an indefinite, non-negotiable hold. But the most explosive, dangerous, and controversial decision Liam made in that quiet hospital corridor was the one concerning Brooke Logan. As he stared blankly at his phone screen, his thumb hovering hesitantly over Brooke's contact name, a bitter, overwhelming resentment washed over him. Brooke's vicious, screaming match in the showroom was the final, devastating catalyst for this physical collapse. If Brooke were to find out about the severe psychological diagnosis, she would undoubtedly twist the narrative. She would use the illness to forcefully drag Hope back to Forrester Creations, loudly claiming that she, as her mother, knew what was best. She would smother Hope, unintentionally weaponize the trauma, and make the delicate psychological situation infinitely worse. With a cold, calculated, and unwavering resolve, Liam decided to lie. He would keep the true, horrifying, and sensitive nature of Hope's condition, a strict, impenetrable secret from Brooke and the rest of the warring families. He firmly swore the doctors to absolute confidentiality, legally sealing her medical records and creating a massive, ticking time bomb of a secret in the process. Liam is now willingly carrying the crushing, agonizing weight of this psychological diagnosis entirely on his own shoulders. He is playing a highly dangerous, high-stakes game of medical deception to shield his deeply vulnerable wife from the toxic influence of her own mother. Meanwhile, Hope remains completely unconscious in her sterile hospital bed, blissfully unaware of the absolute chaos and impending warfare erupting just outside her room. The medical monitors beep in a steady, rhythmic, haunting cadence, serving as a stark, quiet contrast to the raging, destructive war. Liam is actively preparing to wage on her behalf. When Hope finally opens her eyes and regains consciousness, she will wake up to a completely different, unrecognizable world. A world where her fiercely devoted husband has unilaterally shut down her professional dreams in order to save her life, and where a dark, heavy psychological secret binds them together against the rest of Los Angeles. The inevitable fallout from this unprecedented medical crisis is going to be absolutely biblical in scale. How long can Liam realistically keep this devastating, life-altering diagnosis hidden from a fiercely intrusive and demanding Brooke? What will Steffi do when she finally realizes that her relentless corporate bullying actually broke her rival's mind? And how will the ambitious Katie and the ruthless Bill react to their star designer being abruptly pulled from the lineup just days before the biggest launch in Spencer history? The board is set, the pieces are moving, and the drama is about to reach a fever pitch. Will Liam's dangerous secret save Hope, or will the truth destroy their marriage? Drop your theories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for our next explosive B&B breakdown.